guys, what's up? Bro here. So I am here with another Netflix recommendation. This is a series that I started on my channel last month, but the way that it works is at the end of every month I make a video talking about all the Netflix movies and TV shows that I watched for that month, and any specific ones that I really enjoyed or I think you should stay away from, I basically discuss. I try to keep this as spoiler-free as possible, but sometimes it's hard. Basically, what I'll give you is the title, my brief summary of it without trying to, say any whoa kind of moments, and then give you my rating. And yeah, so that's what we're gonna do. And then at the end of the video, we're gonna go over the comments from the last video, which will also contain some recommendations from viewers. Alright, let's get started. So I have the entire list on my phone, which I realize is just a giant white screen right now, because it's the note-taking app thing. But I try to just like mark each movie down and then, kind of leave my little rating next to it because it just makes it so much easier. But first we're going to start with movies and then we're going to start talking about TV shows. So the first movie that I saw is called If I Stay. It was on both Netflix and Amazon Prime as a recommendation, so I figured why not. Sometimes the Netflix recommendations have been on point and other times they make me want to cry. It keeps recommending Twilight to me and I'm just like, no. Just no. Stop. But If I Stay stars Chloe, and I just love her. I've loved her ever since I saw her in Kick-Ass. I think she's an amazing actress, and she is just so pretty, and I just want to hug her, which sounds creepy, but whatever. So the movie If I Stay is about a young girl who has these like two rocker parents. She has a brother, she ends up getting a boyfriend, and she is really good at playing, I believe, the cello, and which is a little different than what her parents, were kind of doing, and she's on her way to possibly going to a really nice fine art school for music. She's doing really well with her life. She's still a teenager, but she's kind of, got her shit together, I guess. But what ends up happening is her and her family end up getting in a very serious car accident, and you kind of see everything from the perspective of Chloe, it's Chloe's character, as she's kind of experienced everything. She's basically having like an outer body experience, I guess. She is walking around the hospital, hearing things about like her parents' condition, seeing her brother, seeing her grandparents, seeing her boyfriend, but no one can actually interact with her. She's basically essentially a ghost. And it kind of goes through her memories with her parents, her memories with her brother, her memories with her boyfriend, and with other interactions with other individuals. And it basically kind of just goes through her past and everything that's going on and everything that happened. It's a really good movie. I personally don't get emotionally attached to movies and cry, but if you're a crier, I would have some tissues handy because it can get a little sad. But it's a really good movie. I highly recommend it. I would probably rate it 3.5 out of 5 stars. Some parts got a little boring and cheesy for me, but that's, me. So, yeah, I recommend it. So the next movie that I watched, I've actually watched before, and it is one of my favorite movies, and it is called Big Fish. I love this movie. It's basically about this guy whose dad is nearing his death, and his dad, his entire life, has told these basically fish tales, and there are these very elaborate stories that he's just like, there's no possible way that these can be true, and he's trying to get his father to tell him the truth. But his father really, is like, that is the truth, like, what are you talking about? So he kind of ventures off and talks to people from his father's life that he's met throughout the years to kind of hear the stories and kind of learn who Edward Bloom is and who his father really was and what actually happened to him. And it's a beautiful story. It has, I always say his name wrong, Ewan McGregor, who plays his father in the past when he's younger, and it's just a really good movie. I love this movie. I watch this movie a lot. Well, maybe not a lot, but it's one that I've seen more than 5 times. But it's definitely one of my favorites. It's one of my go-tos if I'm in the mood for a movie but I don't really know what to watch. Highly recommend this movie. It has an amazing cast. It's very entertaining, and it's so good. You should totally watch it. I would give this movie 4 out of 5 stars. So next up is TV shows. So for TV shows, the first show that I started watching was Psych. Now this is a show that I have watched in the past. I watched it when it was actually on air on television, but I never actually finished all the seasons. There's like 8 seasons, so if you're going to binge watch this, take your time. I'm currently in season 6, and I took a break to watch some other shows that only had 1 or 2 seasons, and then eventually I'll go back to it. But Psych is basically about Sean Spencer, who is he's basically like a mentalist. He observes things that other people don't see, but he tells the cops that he is a psychic, and that is why. He's also opens a business called Psych, which is supposed to be funny. I think it's funny anyway, with his best friend Burton Guster, or Gus as he's known in the show, and they basically solve crimes and help the police and make jokes and do silly things and almost die and all this crazy stuff happen, and it shows the dynamic between him and his father, him and his best friend, him and the 2 detectives that he works together, the 2 detectives together, you know, they're kind of dynamic. Juliet and Lassie, who are the 2 detectives that he works with, are like my favorite. I love all the characters in the show. I think all of them are great. Even the like secondary random characters that maybe only pop up every couple of episodes. Highly recommend this show. It is really good. One thing that the show also does that I really enjoy is at the beginning of about 99% of the episodes, they show a blast from the past, generally for Sean and for Gus, or sometimes just Sean, and it's usually like something with his father or just some sort of a lesson that he learned that he then applies to the current episode and what's currently happening in the case. And I just think that's really interesting because you kind of see the development of the character, although they change kids a lot and they even poke fun of it in like season 5. But highly recommend this show. It is really good. If you like detective type TV shows with kind of like funny little humor things, you should definitely watch it. I would rate the show probably a 4 out of 5. Maybe 4.5 out of 5, depending on the episode. Some episodes are better than others, and some kind of feel more like filler episodes, but it's a really good show. So the next show that I recommend is one that I actually didn't watch in September, but I noticed it's on the list on Netflix, and it is an amazing show. Season 2 recently just started, and it's How to Get Away with Murder. You kind of go into the show, or at least I did, thinking that it was a show about a bunch of kids in college that are trying to learn to be lawyers from this lady that's a really good lawyer. But it's so much more than that. This girl gets murdered on campus, and they start working the case, and there's all this like crazy stuff and drama, and I don't want to spoil anything, but it's an incredible show. You should go watch it. 4 out of 5 stars, possibly 4.5. It also has Dean Thomas from Harry Potter, which kind of took me a while to get used to at first, because I kept picturing him as Dean Thomas, but really good show. Highly recommend it. Check it out. I'm currently, season 2 just started, so I'm watching it on Hulu+. Good show. Totally should watch it. Alright, so the last show that I have for you guys is called Zoo. Actually, I have 2 more shows. So the second to last one is called Zoo, and I watched this like last week. It had 13 episodes. Again, I work at home, so it's easy for me to binge watch shows. But basically, animals are starting to kind of exhibit more aggressive behaviors. They're starting to be a little bit more organized. They're starting to do things that are uncharacteristic. So this team of various people group together and are trying to figure out why the animals are behaving this way, and if it's something that they can cure and something that they can fix. And it's a really good show. I don't really want to give any spoilers and say why the animals, there's fluff, why the animals are kind of acting a little crazy, but there's like a lot of animal attacks. There's like planes going down because birds and bats are just going like bonkers and they're taking them down. It's basically a tale about animals being done with our bullshit and taking us out. But it's a really interesting show. I really like it. 3.5 out of 5 stars, maybe 4, but it's a good show. You should check it out. So the last and final show is Dark Matter, and I literally started watching the show on September 30th. This is a show that people on Twitter have been telling me I should be watching for months now, but it wasn't on Netflix until literally September 30th. It is about a group of 6 individuals and an android that wake up on a ship, and they have no clue how they got there. They're in space. They're like, who are we? What are we doing here? What's going on? And they're basically trying to figure out, you know, who they are, what they're doing, where they're going. The android is probably my favorite character. She is played by Zoe, who plays Lauren in The Lost Girl, and I really love her as the android. Some of the other characters get on my nerves. The only 2 that don't make me want to punch them is the android and I think it's 6, this like big, like muscly, like guy. I don't know. I really like him too. I don't know why. He just seems he seems like scary, but he's also like really nice, and I don't know. But it's a good show. Check it out. So far, I only have, I think I have like 3 or 4 episodes left. Again, when I binge watch a show, I binge watch a show. And so far, I would probably rate it 4 out of 5 because there's really a lack of sci-fi TV shows and movies that are actually worth watching, and this is definitely one that you should check out. Alright, so now we're going to go over the comments from the last video. Thank you guys so much for your suggestions. We're just going to go through them. Since I'm using XSplit to record this, I'm literally just going to plop it on the screen. So first up is from Ethan Lee, and he said, Odd Thomas was my effing favorite. The relationship between the protagonist and the girlfriend is so freaking cute. It really is. If you guys haven't watched this movie, you should watch it. It made me happy, but also sad to be single. Should not be sad to be single, because I believe there's someone out there for everyone, and I'm sure you will find your person to be with. That sounded like really cheesy, but it's definitely a really good movie. You guys should totally go check it out. So our next comment comes from Livy Marie, and this was actually her second comment, so we'll get to her other one in a second. But she said you should also watch Grey's Anatomy, Sherlock, and New Girl if you haven't seen them already. Grey's Anatomy will be a show that I will personally probably never watch. It has like 12 seasons. Like, ain't nobody got time for that. Like, I have trouble binge watching a show with 3 seasons, let alone 12. It's just, I'm not really into drama type shows, so it's not really my forte. I've watched a couple episodes before, but I just wasn't really a fan. As for Sherlock, I am watching that. I still need to finish what I think is season 3. And then New Girl, I watched it when it was on Hulu, when it was like the current episodes. I don't remember where I left off though. But it's also a really good show. I just haven't really felt like watching it lately. Mike S. said, I watched the first season of Once Upon a Time back when it first aired. I remember really liking it then, but for some reason, I never watched it again. Then this month, I just watched 4 seasons on Netflix. I thought season 3 was kind of weak, but the rest of the series I thought was strong. I can't read. I completely agree. Once Upon a Time is a really good series. The first season was like amazing, and then they kind of had this like really awkward season where it was just like, why are we doing this right now? Like, why would you do this? But I feel like the last season, which was the season with Frozen, and then they had some other stuff going on in there, was really good. I'm hoping this season with Dark Swan is not going to be super cheesy. I renewed Hulu Plus again recently just so that I could catch up on some of my favorite shows. So, like, Deathly Hallows will be coming back. I also started recently watching Minority Report, How to Get Away with Murder, Once Upon a Time. I have like all these shows. It's just, but it's kind of one of those. I have like a love-hate relationship with the show, because when it's good, and when it's bad, bad. Like, sometimes the script just gets really bad. So the other recommendations that Livy left were The Vampire Diaries and Heart of Dixie and Arrow. I actually watched Vampire Diaries. I watched everything that is currently on Netflix, which I think goes up to season 4 or 5. I'm not sure. Elena's probably one of the most obnoxious characters I've ever encountered in a TV show. Bonnie is my favorite. Yeah, I don't really... Actually, I have a necklace, her necklace that she wears. I bought it off eBay for like $1. It's a good show, but it just gets on my nerves. I haven't watched any of the recent season, and I don't know if I ever will. Maybe that's just me. As for Heart of Dixie, again, not really my type of show, so probably not something I would watch. Arrow, I watched... Whatever seasons are on Netflix is what I saw. I think it's the first 2, if I'm not mistaken. I have watched that. Really good show. Nicole recommended Wentworth. It's similar to Orange is the New Black, but more truthful. Sex Ed is also really good. Haven't heard of Sex Ed, so I will look into that. I've actually had a couple people recommend Wentworth to me, so I will definitely check that out as well. Thank you so much for the recommendation. That is it for the comments on the last video. Thank you so much for watching this video. Be sure to give it a thumbs up if you haven't already, and comment below with any of your recommendations that you think I should check out, or if any of the shows that I mentioned or movies that I mentioned. If you end up watching them, let me know what you thought about them, or if you've seen them previously, your thoughts on them. But I will catch you guys later, and thanks so much for watching, and goodbye.